Numbers are clean and objective, so they feel more true than your own intuition. You optimize your entire life just to make those charts happy. But the weird part is how fast your actual purpose slides off the table. The metric becomes the mission, and the mission becomes don't break the metric. When a number dips, it punches your threat circuits, and the loop snaps tight again. You trade one thoughtful, slow choice for 10 quick ones that make the chart smile. And while your life looks busy, your work forgets why it exists. Script 6 is self-betrayal light, which is when you say yes even though your body is screaming no. You feel the tight throat, the heavy chest, and the not this feeling, but you override it because the calendar says it's important. Maybe a leader asked for a favor, or you just fear being seen as soft by your peers. These little betrayals happen daily, and while they look polite on the surface, they really start to add up. Each one teaches your system that your inner signals can't be trusted. Over time, you stop hearing them entirely until they start screaming in the form of headaches, back pain, or sudden rage. The loop frames those as personal failures, asks for more grit, and you just nod because that's the script. Watch how these 6 scripts play together by the hour to keep you trapped. Threat priming sets the initial brace for the day, while micro-avoidance burns through your daylight while keeping your anxiety just low enough to function. The shame bribe stretches your work sessions past the honest edge of your energy. Monotony worship removes any novelty, so you don't have to feel fear, which unfortunately stalls your learning. Metric idolatry supplies a constant stream of surrogate threat cues to keep you moving forward. Self-betrayal finally seals the deal, because even when you notice the cost, you override the feeling to maintain compliance. They aren't just separate habits. They are one single nervous system strategy with 6 different faces. These are matters of stakes, not just abstract theory. These scripts make you reliable, fast, and praised by the system, right up until the moment they make you brittle. Your curiosity dries up, and your sense of humor leaves the building. You begin to resent people who aren't braced like you are. You can't even land and relax after work because your body equates stillness with failure. Your sleep gets cut, your mornings start out harsher, and the only way you know how to feel okay is to push even harder. That is the loop celebrating its victory over you. So what are you supposed to do with all that? You start by naming them in plain English. Use terms like threat whip, easy wins, moving carrot, same, scoreboard, and the soft no. Put those labels where you'll actually see them, on your desk or on your phone lock screen. When one of them shows up, say it out loud to yourself. So you're telling me we're doing the moving carrot again? That simple act breaks the trance just a little bit. Then you can choose on purpose. Either run the script consciously with a timer and a hard stop, or interrupt it and switch your state. We'll wire those interrupts next, but first, let's watch these 6 in motion across a single day. Day in the life, the loop in motion. Morning hits before you even wake up. There's that familiar phone glow and a cluster of red dots, including a late-night Slack ping that sits in your brain like a pebble in your shoe. Your body is already 3 steps ahead of your mind with shallow breaths, a tight jaw, and narrow eyes because your internal threat system is primed. You don't actually pick a plan for the day. The plan picks you, and you dive into your inbox first just to clear it out. One quick reply somehow turns into 5. A calendar pop-up adds more heat to the pile, and that first cup of coffee goes down like liquid armor instead of something you actually enjoy. You skip looking out the window, you skip a morning stretch, and you skip sensing anything at all because the only goal is making the noise stop. Meanwhile, all the easy wins start lining up like snacks on a counter. You handle quick confirmations, small edits, and a document rename that makes you feel like you've made progress for about 6 seconds. You tell yourself that momentum is the only thing that matters, but here's the funny thing. Your brain is cashing relief checks while the important work sits there aging. You see that big task, you flinch, and then you promise yourself you'll get to it right after this next batch of emails. That batch keeps refilling because every micro-win shaves off a tiny bit of anxiety, which teaches the loop to keep serving them up to you. It's basically like trying to bail water out of a boat while the tap is still running at full blast. By late morning, the tunnel vision is fully turned on. Notifications start acting like cattle prods, and you keep your gaze locked tight on the next ping, so you don't have to feel the larger question of what you're even building. Food becomes fuel rather than a pleasure, so you chew on autopilot while scrolling through a feed with your other hand. Micro freezes start to arrive, which is that statue-like stillness you try to call being locked in, even as your shoulders creep up toward your ears. The big task just sits there humming, and when you finally open it to skim the page, your chest lifts in a panic before you decide it's too much and close it again. You tell yourself it's just one more email or one more dashboard check, because you need relief now and you'll worry about the craft later. Midday arrives, and you try to push yourself into some actual focus time. You block out 90 minutes on the calendar, but you only last about 12 before a question mark in the third paragraph sends you to a new tab. That tab leads to another, which leads to a message to a colleague to clarify something quickly, and suddenly 10 minutes of your life are just gone. Guilt starts to prick at you, so you make a bargain to crush the next 30 minutes so you can finally breathe, and you do crush it, but only at the shallow work. The shame bribe just moves the goalpost further away, the breath never actually comes, and you tell yourself that real pros don't stop when things start to hurt. Your nervous system just nods and tightens its grip. By early afternoon, decision fatigue is firmly in the driver's seat. The deep work now feels radioactive, so you swap it out for tasks that have crisp edges like formatting, scheduling, or cleaning up your project board. The board looks back at you with a smile, your body exhales for exactly 2 beats, and your idolatry of metrics pets your hair while asking for more. A teammate pings you for a quick favor, and even though your chest is screaming no, you say yes because you want to be seen as helpful. You want that threat off your back, so you log another moment of self-betrayal and keep moving. 3 o'clock brings the second coffee, and the lie that you'll make up all this ground tonight. That's just the moving carrot talking to you, and you extend your runway because stopping now would force you to do a real truth check. Monotony worship kicks in with the same playlist, the same chair, and the same keystrokes because any kind of novelty would set off the alarms. You feel fast, and you actually are fast, but only at staying inside the lines where it's safe. Learning has completely stalled out, but your activity tracker absolutely loves you for the effort. The end of the day hits in scare quotes because you don't actually downshift, you just slowly leak energy. You check messages on the way to the kitchen, glance at a document just to make sure it's okay, and dinner becomes a cycle of bite, scroll, reply, and guilt. Your partner asks you a simple question, and you answer with only half of your face, while an ache grows where your sense of humor used to be. You promise a total reset after one last pass at the work, but that pass finds 3 more gaps that need filling. The loop applauds your effort, and you tell yourself you're just being committed. Evening eventually turns into a search for rebound stimulation. Your brain has been wired all day, and now it wants a much bigger hit of dopamine, so you flip from your work dashboard straight into a doom scroll. You cycle through videos, reels, and shorts, which is basically the junk drawer of the internet, and you consume sensation without any real meaning. Sleep pressure breaks because the combination of blue light and threat bias creates a state of fake alertness. You feel bad, then you feel even worse for feeling bad, and you whisper a prayer about being strict tomorrow that you don't even believe. Night finally lands, and you lay down in bed feeling completely braced. Your default mode starts spinning through replays, what-ifs, and future fires while you scan for exits and find only more vows to do better. The 5 a.m. alarm becomes a moral contract, and you picture a perfect morning full of lemon water and deep work, as if a fantasy can wash away the shame. You finally drop into a thin sleep that your smartwatch will eventually grade, but at 2 in the morning, your phone lights up the room. You don't even open the message, but your body reacts anyway with a tiny social threat and a micro drip of cortisol that keeps the brownout holding steady. The weekend arrives and you call it rest, but that really just means running errands in sprint mode or going for a long run that you track to the second. You consume relaxing content as if it were a homework assignment, and your nervous system never actually powers down. If you try to sit still for a moment, the guilt alarm starts chirping, so you invent more motion to keep it quiet. You return to work on Monday feeling tired and call it normal, while your bosses call it dedication and the apps call it engagement. The loop just calls it home. This is the exact day the loop wants you to live. It isn't happening because you're weak, but because the architecture of your life is very loud, and your biology is listening to every word. You aren't going to escape this cycle with a few pep talks. You have to puncture it with actual interrupts, honest hard stops, and wins that you earn while you're calm instead of braced, and we're going to wire those in next. Myth busting. 5 lies of self-control. Lie number 1 is that pain equals progress. Here's the funny thing. Pain usually just equals narrowing. When you push yourself until the edges of your vision start to blur, your body shifts into survival math, where the goal is to reduce the threat quickly instead of learning deeply. You might feel like a hero because it hurts, but pain is just a loud signal and not actual proof of growth. Real progress looks pretty boring when you see it up close because it's just varied reps, clear stops, and honest reviews. Pain can show up, but if hurt is the only compass you use, you'll steer yourself straight into a smaller life and call it strength. The real question isn't whether it burns, it's whether you can still make a choice while it burns. Because if you can't, the pain is the one steering the ship. Lie number 2 is that consistency beats everything else. Consistency without any novelty is just a plateau with some really good branding. Remember that when you're under threat, anything new feels like danger, so people often double down on sameness and call it discipline. Learning actually requires difference, which means you need spacing, context switches, and fresh shapes for your problems. Stamina is a useful tool, but true mastery requires variation. If you just stack identical days on top of each other and polish the same groove, you'll eventually wonder why the work feels so thin. It's basically like running the exact same mile forever and expecting to get a marathon medal for it. You should keep the cadence, but you have to lace it with small, deliberate changes like new constraints or higher stakes. Consistency is just the scaffolding, it isn't the actual building. Lie number 3 is that goals always require sacrifice. The truth is that misaimed sacrifice eventually bleeds all the meaning out of what you're doing. If the cost of your goal is your body's signals, your relationships, and your curiosity, then you're paying for the journey by burning the engine itself. The story we're all sold says we should trade today for tomorrow, but you have to ask what you're actually buying with that trade. If a goal can't survive a gentle pace, some purposeful rest, and a few no's, then it isn't a goal. It's just a threat dressed up in a nice suit. A real sacrifice targets the friction that blocks the truth, like clutter or false urgency, rather than the parts of you that tell you the truth. A clean sacrifice sounds like putting the phone away after 8, not giving up your entire self until the launch is over. Lie number 4 is that the grind builds character. In reality, the grind just builds compliance reflexes. Character is about your values under pressure, while the grind is just a reflex under pressure. When you rehearse the cycle of bracing, acting, and then feeling relief, you're wiring your brain for obedience instead of judgment. People will praise your grit because the outputs are landing, but try setting a boundary or changing the plan and see what happens. That's where character actually lives, but the grind avoids that test by keeping you too busy to ever make a choice. You become very reliable at one thing, which is ignoring the part of yourself that asks why you're doing this. Strength isn't just about raw force, it's about using the right amount in the right place at the right time. Lie number 5 is that rest is a reward you have to earn. Rest is actually infrastructure. If you treat recovery like it's a dessert, you're going to underfeed yourself every single time a gap in your schedule starts screaming for attention. Your internal state will decay, and you'll end up using way more effort just to fake the same outcome you had before. Calling rest a prize keeps you in a state of debt where you're constantly begging for permission just to breathe. You have to flip that thinking and realize that rest is the floor that everything else stands on. You need to pre-schedule your low points, use micro downshifts between blocks of work, and take true off days that aren't just work disguised as active recovery. If your calendar can't carry that weight, then your calendar doesn't actually serve you. You don't earn oxygen. You breathe so your brain can actually do the work. We need to reframe this whole mess as sovereign discipline versus obedience discipline. Obedience discipline tells you to hold the whip, outrun the shame, and prove you care by hurting yourself. Sovereign discipline tells you to hold the reins, pick the target, and prove you care by choosing when to work and when to stop. One of these is powered by threat, while the other is powered by your values. One shrinks your world down to whatever soothes the alarms, while the other widens your world to include everything that builds a real life. It's the same word, discipline, but it involves two entirely different nervous systems. So you're telling me, how do I actually tell which one I'm running on? There are some simple tests you can use. Can you stop in the middle of a sprint on purpose, without feeling like you need to apologize? Can you swap a metric for something meaningful and stay completely calm? Can you say no to a request with a clear body and no internal story about why you're bad? If the answer is yes, then you're the one holding the reins. If the mere thought of stopping spikes your guilt, or if a broken streak feels like actual danger, then you're stuck in obedience discipline, even if your results look elite to everyone else. Everything we've talked about so far points toward a major pivot because the loop stays alive by making these lies sound noble. Pain sounds like you're being brave, consistency sounds steady, and sacrifice sounds like something holy. The grind sounds tough, and rewarded rest sounds fair. But wait, there's more to it than that. These slogans also keep the cortisol tap cracked open and keep your choices very small. Once you pull those slogans away, your entire state begins to shift. This is the midpoint of our journey. What breaks the trance isn't a harder push, it's regaining your agency. We're going to flip from using the whip to holding the reins and wire that into some drills you can run in real time. The reversal, sovereignty or stamina. So here is where we flip the script. Most people think the cure for weak discipline is just grinding harder, but the real answer is actually agency. It is not about having more stamina to endure the struggle. It is about having the sovereignty to step away from it. Stamina is what keeps you running on the treadmill inside a cage, but sovereignty is what lets you find the latch on the door and walk out. If your current loop is powered by constant threats, then agency is powered by your internal state, which means you decide how you feel first, and then choose an action that actually fits your values. We can test this right now with litmus test number 1. Are you able to stop what you are doing on purpose without feeling a wave of guilt? I am not talking about stopping because you finally crashed or because your mom called to interrupt you. I mean choosing to close your laptop at exactly minute 37, standing up to take a breath, and feeling completely neutral about it. If that idea makes you feel a spike of shame or panic, it means the whip is still in your hand. True sovereignty means you are the one holding the reins, and you should be able to loosen them just as easily as you tighten them. For litmus test number 2, I want to know if you can downshift your energy and still feel like you are winning. Wins that come from being braced and stressed out do not count for this exercise. Try picking a task that you usually attack under heavy pressure and run it at a calm, steady pace with a hard stop scheduled at the end. If your brain starts screaming that you will fail unless you sprint, you are dealing with a stamina superstition. You have spent so long training yourself to believe that fast equals safe that you now think calm equals danger, but you can flip that narrative with real evidence. Then we have litmus test number 3, which asks if you can change your aim in the middle of a work block. Imagine you are 20 minutes into a project, and you realize the task you are doing isn't actually the right one. So you redirect your focus without any internal drama. If you keep pushing forward just because you already started, that isn't discipline, it is just obedience. Sovereignty is the ability to change course when the truth of a situation changes, and you should be able to do that without asking a metric for permission. So you're probably telling me, how do I actually get that agency when the loop in my head is so loud? The secret is to build ceilings for your cortisol instead of floors for your effort. Right now, your day is probably governed by rules like, I need at least 3 hours of deep work, or I can't break my streak. But I want you to swap those for guardrails that cap your stress levels. Try rules like never work past a 7 out of 10 stress level, or no back-to-back notifications for more than 20 minutes. Stamina floors end up trapping you in a cycle of exhaustion, but cortisol ceilings are what actually set you free. This is where we get into the practical side of things, because agency requires daily reps that are tiny and durable. A sovereign rep looks like this. You pick a meaningful goal, set a target for how you want to feel, and pre-schedule exactly when you will stop. Once you run the block and hit that stop time, you review one single line. Did my internal state match the choice I made? If the answer is yes, you need to lock that feeling in. And if the answer is no, you adjust your state for the next block before you even think about adjusting your effort. The work itself can be anything from writing code to sending emails, but the real win is obeying your values rather than reacting to an alarm. You have to remember that your body has been conditioned to think that safety only exists when you are in motion. Because of that, you need to start small, because 10 minutes of calm work is always better than 90 minutes of braced work. One clean stop that is free of guilt is worth more than 5 hero laps that leave you feeling burnt out. Agency is not a loud or aggressive force. It is something very quiet and precise. But wait, there's more to this than just your professional life. This reversal is about how you eat, how you rest, and even how you talk to people. Can you eat until you feel enough, and then stop, even if there is still delicious food left on your plate?